Welcome back to another chapter discussion, One Piece chapter 1150, easily one of the biggest chapters we've ever gotten in this entire story. One of the biggest reveals that we've been waiting on for years, and tons of theories to come out of it. So of course, we've got to dive right into this theory crafting session. Of course, before we get into it, please drop a like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know every time I drop a new video. If you'd like to be a part of these community discussions, then you're welcome to join the Discord down below, where we talk about One Piece all week long, as well as a ton of other anime. I've got a Patreon below for an uncut version of this stream you're about to watch, and of course we do streams every Sunday when the new chapters and new episodes drop, so you can be right there with me as we experience it all together. But that being said, let's get into the newest chapter, 1150 of One Piece. What a mind-blowing chapter. Let's cook. Chapter 1150, Domi Reversi, which means return home, as was just stated in the chat. 34 volumes later, we have now technically, officially finished the pilgrimage for Yamato, dude. And ending at the shrine of Yasui is honestly iconic, dude. I'm curious what our cover stories are going to start entailing after this. So now, like, Yamato's basically done what they need to do. Yamato has his crew now for the most part. I mean, at least with Ulti in page 1, and then like some other people that have been around him. So, dude, it's crazy. It finally came to a close. I'm kind of happy about it. I'm not going to lie. I've been getting kind of tired of these cover stories, and only for the simple fact of, like, it didn't feel like it was adding that much new content to the story. I know it's going to be relevant without a doubt, but I don't know. I'm just kind of happy that we're at the end of this and we can start moving on to like the next type of cover story thing. Before we get into the theory crafting session for this chapter, if you would like to watch the full uncut version of this live stream, as well as me reacting to the chapter for the first time, that is in the Patreon link below. I'm gonna speed run this chapter for you. It's pretty crazy. Imu takes over Gunko's body, and when they do, a massive power of Haki comes out, and they transform into this insanely sick demonic figure. Given that pointy little tail that we saw Imu potentially using when they killed Cobra, now they have this crazy trident, and it's bad. It's really, really bad. Imu looks directly at Dory and Bragi and says, "You two are going to be the kings of Elbaf now. You have to go kill Ja Rule." And they're like, obviously, F that. So Imu says, "You know what? I'm going to pull out a grimoire like it's Black Clover and activate my strap card." Imu pulls out a freaking gun and blasts off Dory's arm, which is just insane. And immediately after, she sends Dory into this abyss pentagram, uses this like potential spell or incantation, Domi Reversi, which in Latin means to return home. And Dory comes back out of a pentagram as a crazy, scary demon. And it's bad. It's really bad. And then Imu starts doing that to literally all the giants. And not only is he becoming a scary demon with wings and horns and all this, but he's also like way, way, way bigger, like 4 or 5 times bigger. Because like these are giants saying he's huge, which is just crazy actually. But yeah, so it ends up catching everybody. Then we get this crazy final spread where all these giants are now in full demon form, as well as all the nightmare monsters roaming around. It's just so bad. It's so bad. It's really bad, dude. All right, guys, we did it. We did it. I read the chapter. And so, all right, the first thing I want to bring up, and I said this last week, and I've said this for a couple weeks now, with the actual power level that we're dealing with here on Elbaf. Elbaf warriors do not stand a chance against what is happening right now. Before this chapter, the strongest warriors on Elbaf were Dory, Bragi, Loki, and Skapar Gaban. Skapar Gaban got at least knocked to the underworld last chapter and relatively taken out. He's definitely like very, very injured right now. Loki is also incredibly injured, and it's been stated it'll take like 2 months for him to heal up. And then we have Dory and Bragi, who are the other valuable assets to fighting on Elbaf, and now they have also been completely and utterly taken over by Imu. Elbaf has nothing but Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji right now. Like, nothing but those three, and otherwise it's over with. Like, that is so freaking insane, dude. Like, what a wild turn of events, dude. Imu pulling up like this and just immediately transforming everybody, dude, diabolical. The main theory going around is that Loki is innocent and the same thing happened to his father. I definitely think Loki's innocent. I don't know. I really don't know about the same thing happening to his father. I guess I could see if the theory goes that like Imu came and changed like King Harold into one of these demonic figures, and then Loki had to kill him because that was the only way to stop him. If that's where the theory's going, yeah. You think Emu definitely isn't using their full power right now, but will be very strong. So, I fully agree. If anything, like Emu is just using Gunko as a conduit. This isn't Emu's physical body. I think when we see Emu fighting with their own physical body, that's when we're gonna see some true power from Emu. But this alone just shows how much Emu can turn the tide by just like turning everybody into a demon just like themselves. It's so crazy. This chapter feels like Black Clover. 100% it feels like Black Clover. Everyone says Black Clover is a Naruto ripoff, but turns out One Piece is just a Black Clover ripoff. So what now? What now? You saw a theory breaking down the symbols that appear within the pentagram, magic circles, and deciphering names of gods from IRL cultures. Really? So the symbols within these pentagrams are actually real symbols, and they're not just like made up mumbo jumbo for the story? Or back to the initial point, this chapter's name is Domi Reversi, and when we see Emu use that particular ability, that is when we see Bragi get like sucked into the pentagram, flipped upside down, because like they have this whole like rotating like thing, and his legs are like up, and then he comes back out of that as the demon. But it's interesting that like she's basically telling Bragi to go home. And when he does go home, he does become a demon. So it's like, I'm reading that as like, go back to your roots, go back to where it all began. And at least from Emu's perspective, maybe everything began in hell or in the underworld or in this abyss realm that we're kind of dealing with. What if the giants, Ors, Oni, all sorts of those races originated from abyss, hence why they age differently and are stronger warriors? Returning home could be referring to returning back to the underworld. Okay, let's cook on that, Zen. Let's cook on that specifically, because I definitely have some ideas here. All right, if we're assuming that potentially the giants originally come from the abyss, or maybe they are demons who were able to start existing within this realm in a more coexisting kind of thing, which would also make sense why they were originally a warrior race and they're going away from that, and also Emu wants to reverse that. They all, like, ancient giants have horns. What also has horns? Demons. So it really could be said that, like, it at some point in one of like the worlds or one of the past centuries or times or eras, that when demons came, they came in as like ancient giant presenting figures, and they came and took the world over, and like they solidified their name as like a warrior race, something to be feared, and completely dominated this earth. And in those ways, they're physically bigger, physically stronger, they live longer, they are just in this capacity a more superior race as far as the ability to wage war than any of the other races that we've seen here on or in One Piece. So when Gunko says to return home, it says return to what you originally are, and that is like insane Oni demons. Like that really makes a lot of sense to me. Like I like that theory a lot. That seems to make perfect sense for some reason. What if Gunko used their reverse ability? It sends the person they use it on to the underworld and brings the demon version back from the underworld, and the version of who was attacked is then trapped in the world. I like that idea too. Like it's fully like swapping like people entirely. I think that's possible, but I'm not totally sure on that, because like, does that mean that every single living creature has like a demonic counterpart in the underworld? Like that seems feasible, but it seems unrealistic. I'm really not sure though. Like that's not a bad idea. Yes and no, your demonic counterpart is manifested when you are placed in the abyss. Okay, so it doesn't exist until you're put in the abyss, and then like a demonic copy of you comes out. I could see that. I like that explanation a little bit better. No, you think it means Emu is reversing the home, aka the origin of Dory, so it's reversing from humanoid to demonoid. Okay, I see that. So just making their origins demonic when they weren't inherently that. It's a clean reversal. But what if Gunko is Brook's daughter or related to him, got kidnapped by Emu, Emu put a chip in her head, wipe her memories, and Emu to use her as a clone, like being for Emu in the field. Yeah, no, Sid, I like that theory a lot, dude. I've been like heavy on the fact that Gunko is a child who has been captured at a young age by the Holy Knights, and then indoctrinated into their way of thinking and all of that. And with that being said, it fully makes sense now either being Brook's daughter or at least like a daughter figure to Brook or something like that. I think that's highly likely based off of the last chapter. And then The chip in the head is an interesting thing because you see that kind of stuff with Kuma, right? Which also would kind of make sense that like it's a slightly imperfect like mind control, because even with Kuma, his personality still seeped through against all the things that they were trying to do with them. So I think there's a lot to that, dude. I think that's very possible. Because we also saw Gunko's actual personality starting to slip through for a second in that last chapter when Brook or like father specifically was mentioned. There's a name in the pentagram. Do we know what the name of that god is? The name is on the one that that's stacked on top of Gunko, bottom left. It's written backwards, Eris D something. Got you. So it would be this one, I believe, that you're talking about. Interesting. If it's referencing the D clan, that would be crazy. Imu's like demonic pentagrams referencing the D clan is wild when that's the inherent enemy of Imu. Like that's kind of a crazy point, yeah? Eris was the Greek goddess of strife, discord and chaos. Well, that makes absolute perfect sense for Imu. The name says Eris D Tar. Interesting. Tardaria or Tardaris? What is so what would Tartarus be again? I feel like we've heard that name. That sounds familiar to me. I feel like I should know that, but for some reason it ain't clicking for me. Eris was the Greek goddess of strife, discord and chaos. Well, that makes absolute perfect sense for Imu. The name says Eris D Tar. Interesting. Tardaria or Tardaris? What is so what would Tartarus be again? I feel like we've heard that name. That sounds familiar to me. I feel like I should know that, but for some reason it ain't clicking for me. Is the abyss maybe a separate dimension like hell or something maybe? I fully agree with that. I do think it's a separate dimension. Eris D Tartarus maybe? Tartarus could be the abyss. It's the deepest part of the underworld in the Greek myths where the Titans are kept. Okay. What if Imu just gave control of the giants' bodies over to the deity called Eris? That's possible. So with that logic, though, Jet, does that mean we have yet another overarching villain that we're unaware of? Is there yet another bigger bad guy? Are we doing some Naruto level shit where it's like, oh wait, the big bad's Madara. Just kidding, it's Zetsu. Just kidding, it's Kaguya. Just kidding, it's, you know, like how deep are we gonna go? I hope not. I hope Imu's the end all be all, but it could be some massive demonic force that exists in that underworld, in the abyss world, in Tartarus or wherever we're talking about. It's very, very possible. Tartarus was frozen over, you believe. We saw Imu walking through a prison like place where the frozen trial was. Ooh, that's a good point. There's two versions of Eris, a blameworthy one who fosters evil, war, and conflict, and a worthy of praise one who encourages beneficial competition. What if this represents Imu and Luffy? I love that, Zen. I love that. That makes perfect sense because those are our clean foils. Clean foils right there. Maybe this was Imu and Lily originally. Could be. Could be. And yeah, Lily was that worthy of praise one as well. And I'm curious about the encourages beneficial competition, because that also sounds a lot like the way the Giants race kind of like, you know, does their warring stuff. Like they look at it as fun and positive competition to get stronger and to gain glory. So there's another connection there too. The book isn't a grimoire, it's a Ars Goetia. The Ars Goetia is a real book that catalogs the 72 demons in the Abrahamic faiths. Sign me up for that. I think that makes too much sense then. Because like that's such a clean connection. Granted, it's not just pulling demons out. She is pulling guns and out of this. Like that, this blows my mind. Like this is not something I expected at all. Like Gunko just like ripping a gun out of this is kind of just crazy to me. What if the D clan are immune to Imu's control and that's what makes them enemies of the gods? Now that's a good point there, Zen. So Zen, if the real question is, could they do this transformation to a true D member? And if that's the case, then Imu taking over Lily's body would actually be taken out. I like the theory of, you know, the D clan being the enemies of the gods, and that being said, we can't do these transformations to someone with the D in their name. That would make a huge difference in this story, but it would also like really throw a wrench in the, you know, Nefertari Lily being Imu thing. Eris personified the destructive and negative aspects of conflict, chaos, and disunity. What if Eris D Tar is Imu's true name? Now there you go. That could be the true name of Imu. I like that a lot. Imu did mention that D members don't even know the meaning of their name. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's been pushed on us so heavy that we don't know. Let's say Imu did take over Lily's body, but needed the power of all 19 kings to take over Lily's body to overpower that invulnerability. Now that's a really, really good concept there too. That reminds me, you saw a theory. They said Emu used to use the reversal on Joy Boy since it's not confirmed he is a D. And that is where the story of Nika the Destroyer came from, because he was affected by Emu since he isn't a D. And that's also why Emu used a physical attack on Cobra. Oh! Good point, because Cobra also has a D in his name, right? So that's actually very interesting. So Joy Boy lost that fight because he wasn't a D clan member and was actually able to be taken over by Emu, and then that's how Emu was able to demonize, quite literally, the name of the sun god Nika and make him an evil entity as opposed to a positive entity. Wait, are we forgetting when Emu killed Cobra, they used the same arrow as Gunko? We have not forgotten that sin. We've been talking about that quite a bit. My original theory was that we saw, Emu using an arrow-like thing to attack Cobra, and then we meet Gunko, the arrow woman, who obviously can use arrows and control them. I was thinking that when Emu bestows the Abyss Mark on you and initially connects you to the Abyss, Emu gets the ability to use your powers that you already possess, and you also get the ability to use Emu's powers that they possess. So it's like a two-way street of abilities. So I was thinking, like, let's say, hypothetically, Emu would be able to slap an Abyss Mark on Luffy. Emu would potentially get, like, the rubber attributes that Luffy has, which is what I was thinking was happening when we saw Emu using the arrow to kill Cobra and then Gunko being an arrow woman. Now that we've seen Gunko being taken over by Emu, I really think it's as simple as Emu's an actual demon, and that's Emu's demon tail. I think we're overthinking the arrow thing. I think they happen to be similar, but I think that was a red herring for real. And I believe that it is simply that Emu is in fact a demon with a pointy little demon tail, and that's what Emu used. And I don't think it has really anything to do with Gunko's arrow fruit anymore. The arrow that killed Cobra had a much thicker line than the tail. That's a good point. It definitely does have a thicker line. It's not like a thin, like, it doesn't inherently look like a tail, So that's super fair. Like right here, very tail-like. That's giving tail 100%. This part, not enough to really say anything. Oh, that's all we got right there. I don't know. I think that one's up in the air, kind of, but at this point, I'm pretty set on it. Gunko being an arrow woman and Emu using an arrow to kill Cobra are just coincidental. Oda said he wouldn't make a water fruit, you think, but if he actually did, but instead of a person having it, an item is continuously flooding the world. The water fruit could inherently be like an ancient weapon itself, right? God, oh my God, what a good theory. Okay, I'm gonna break this all down. Shout out Zen, this is a fantastic theory. So, a new, fresh, potential One Piece theory for you guys. The only person who's ever eaten the water devil fruit, if it did even exist, is Davy Jones himself. And Davy Jones turned into water, and that water got consumed by the ocean. So then Davy Jones became synonymous with the ocean, and that is where the cursed will of the ocean against devil fruits comes from. When a devil fruit user enters the ocean and they get pulled down, they lose all of their energy and they start to sink. That inherently is Davy Jones's will manifesting, trying to pull himself out of the water that he's infinitely stuck in. So all of the ocean, all of the water on that planet is inherently Davy Jones' locker, and that is why the sea rejects devil fruit users. I love that theory, Zen. That's awesome. That's a lot of fun. Twisted says he thinks that Lily's soul might have been displaced into Zunisha, building out that idea that Nerona Emu took over Lily's body. As you can see, Zunisha has ringed eyes with more tranquil color. You're thinking Lily might have water in her name. I do love the concept of Lily very possibly being, Nefertari D Water Lily, because a lot of that makes sense, actually, for a ton of reasons. Could have been a way to push Lily or something she chose to do in a desperate situation. Zunisha's eyes also look slightly more human than you think they would for a normal elephant, which I do agree with. It also fits into the idea that Lily was a former forest god, being the literal island that the animal kingdom of Zou lives on and relies on. Love that connection. If the book that Emu is using formerly belonged to Lily, as the magical relics spoken about in the mural, or at least implied, maybe Chopper ends up with that book as the new forest god. Chopper has been shown to like books. So you actually realized something about the mural recently. You think Emu is the forest god mentioned at the beginning of the second world. Breath stirred within the void, and the forest god sent sent forth demons? What if the void is referencing the abyss and Emu being the forest god sent forth demons, aka Gorosei? What if the Gorosei's forms are these demons sent forth as the breathing stirring within the abyss? I fully love that, dude. I think there's a lot of connection there. I mean, that simple quote of like, and the forest god sent forth demons. The only other translation I could look at that being is the forest god created devil fruits inherently. So that is the demons that it sent forth. But I like this version as well too. I think there's something to that. In your opinion, Emu is the sea rain god who took over Lily's body, the former forest god. See, now that makes a lot of sense. Like that's the way to connect both of those things. Where yes, in a way, Emu is the forest god, but because he took over Lily's body to become the forest god, if Lily was the OG forest god, Emu's acting as both gods in a sense, but will likely be his downfall, being that Lily is a D. Exactly. Zen says, I do like your take on Emu acting as two gods. What if Blackbeard does end up being a god of sorts? Blackbeard ends up being a god of sorts, and it takes the combined power of the sun and moon god to take down, thinking like Luffy / Blackbeard team up to take down Emu. I do still like that idea before brawling for the empty throne. I could definitely see some stuff like that happening. You do think BB will enter the fray on the whole Emu situation, since BB's goal is literally what Emu is doing right now? Facts. You recently started thinking that Blackbeard may have been Emu's next vessel, and that his dark fruit powers are strengthened via the abyss. It would be horrifying if Emu got their hands on Blackbeard and was able to turn him into a devil the way they just turned the giants into the devils. That would be a horrifying outcome, dude. If that happens, I think the gang loses. I really think that could be enough to just end it all. If Emu truly got Blackbeard on their side somehow, which I genuinely don't think would happen, that would just be endgame level. Also, Emu's grimoire makes you think, what if the road poneglyphs are an incantation to open the abyss to access the One Piece? Holy What if Joy Boy actually hid Laugh Tale within the abyss until whoever with the power and ability to decipher the poneglyphs and act on the One Piece's power came to claim the One Piece? Wow. An actual One Piece, like what the One Piece is or where it is theory. And that actually cooks, dude. My only issue is that means that at all times Emu constantly has access to the One Piece, and that is curious to me. And also, like, Gold Roger and them saw the One Piece, so that means Gold Roger would have been into this abyss, and then they laughed, and the abyss doesn't sound like a laughing matter. So, like, I'm not saying I hate it, but I'm not sure. In Impel Down, people were said to be demoning away. That's a really good point. So if Emu was using Impel Down to basically farm abyss area experiments, like people to practice putting their abilities on, seeing what would hold, what wouldn't hold, doing ways to figure out how to like break people's mentality so they can be a perfect like demon controlled puppet. I love that idea, Tim. I think there's actually a lot to it. Emu using the soldiers in Impel Down to demon them away. Dude, that is a really, really good point. It's possibly that Roger didn't find the real One Piece, or on Laugh Tale found info that he couldn't do anything with the One Piece because it wasn't, I mean, absolutely possible. Maybe Joy Boy also had a way of hiding the One Piece within the abyss away from Emu. It's very possible that Emu doesn't have like full control or access to the abyss. Maybe Emu just has pathways through the abyss, you know, or like pockets within the abyss. They could have laughed because it wasn't an island, it was a doorway. That's facts. So Laugh Tale isn't even a physical place in this world. Laugh Tale is like a pocket dimension in the abyss. That's crazy, bro. They're laughing because they discovered they couldn't use the incantations to open up the gate to the One Piece within. That's hilarious. So the Roger Pirates decipher the poneglyphs, get to the point where they'd be at the One Piece, but they were unable to open the doorway that would get to it, and that's why they laughed, because they got there and they're like, damn, we literally just can't do shit about this no matter what we do. Like, it's a lost cause no matter what. We need, you know, you need the Joy Boy fruit or something like that. That's crazy. Assuming that the One Piece will take down Emu and that the D-Clan members are the only ones able to use it, of course, Emu sees the D-Clan as enemies of the gods, enemies capable of harnessing great power to strike down evil. You know, Zen, and this might be wild for me to even say, I've been pretty heavy on the One Piece is an after Emu thing and not a before Emu thing. So chat, I do genuinely want to ask you guys this, and I'm wondering what you think. Do you think we will find and acquire the One Piece before we fight Emu or after we fight Emu? I've been under the assumption that that is the very, very, very end of this story. Like that'll be the last thing that happens. So that being said, could it be something that we need to take down Emu? And that's why Emu has kind of kept the One Piece a secret, and that's why it was such a bad thing when Roger finally said the One Piece is real, you can go get it. There's something to it. What if Thriller Bark is foreshadowing for this? Domi Reversi could be swapping the real body for their shadow form, which might be why they heal just fine after being harmed. Could also explain why Bragi's demon form can use his severed hand just fine. So we were kind of theorizing on the fact of like when you go through the Demoni Reversi, it creates a shadow form of you that does have that immortalness or whatever. It's interesting that Emu said that like you're gonna have to give up some portion of your lifespan to do this, but also then you get immortality. So it truly is like selling your soul to the devil, in my opinion. I'm not totally sure, but I see what you're going with. Roger was 20 years too early because the two kings needed to meet and agree to open the gates, which creates a new world. Boom. I love that. I love that. Because, and they will surely meet is the really important part of the Harley text right there. So with that being said, to actually open up, like to use the poneglyphs to open up the realm of where the One Piece is, maybe the Abyss realm, maybe some other realm, you need the gods to actually meet again. So who's the other person that Luffy has to meet to be able to open it up? You're not sure it's Luffy meeting anyone. Shirahoshi, you think, is one of the kings and the others unknown. Fruits were created by the dreams of people, so the kings would have an innate supernatural power. Pretty sure Shirahoshi was part of the prediction made by Shirley. I feel like you're right on that as well. I don't have all the connections to it, but I do think you have something going there. You think Emu will be the final boss of the total series, with Blackbeard being the final pirate boss, with the One Piece possibly being the final thing needed to completely defeat Emu. So what if the One Piece is some kind of permanent way to capture or subdue Emu? It very well could be. The One Piece could be the item that you need to like seal Emu away. Because I do also feel like Emu is going to be a creature that's actually not able to be killed. Like, I do think that's going to be like something we run into where like no amount of punching, hitting, fighting, cutting, chopping, whatever kind of thing you could do to, technically end somebody is going to work with Emu. They're going to need to be sealed away or put back into the abyss. So low-key, the One Piece could be like a Pandora's box thing, but in a reverse. So, like, low-key, the One Piece was originally opened, which opened Pandora's box, which, like, brought all these hell-like creatures onto the planet. So, like, Emu and then every other subsequent devil or demon or dark force that we've seen on the planet came out because some ancient king, dumbass idiot, opened Pandora's box for whatever reason. And that could be what this story is basically closing Pandora's box back. So the One Piece is inherently Pandora's box, and we just have to shut that thing again. That's actually kind of crazy. I'd never really put the Pandora's box theory to test, theory to the test in this. So that's interesting. I will say, Zen, I'm kind of opposite on you. I do still feel like Blackbeard is the final boss, but it really could go either way. Emu seems to be an incredibly smart and powerful person. Nothing short of a miracle will be able to defeat Emu. Absolute facts, dude. There's a reason Emu's been successful for so long. I mean, like simple as that. So Richie's got a theory about Lelouch. Lelouch Kingdom was erased from the map because King was captured by the government, which... interesting place to start this for sure. As we know, the government used some weapon powered by a small part of the Mother Flame to wipe out the kingdom and leave a giant hole and raise the sea level by a meter. So we know Vegapunk made the Mother Flame. What else do we see the Mother Flame used as a power source? The Seraphim use it as we hear at the end of Egghead when they said they needed recharging. So we know Vegapunk used King's DNA to make the Seraphim and So what if while making the clones, we also figured out how to recreate the flames on the back of Lunarians and made it stable without a host body? The weapon used by Emu was powered by that flame. What if Iva is right when Sabo was telling Dragon and Iva what happened at the end of the Reverie? Iva said a weapon of that caliber could only be two things: a weapon made by Vegapunk, or two, an ancient weapon. I'm on the ancient weapon side, which I agree with that, which means where did the weapon come from? My thoughts is that it was on the Red Line when the 20 Kingdoms invaded it and wiped out most of the Lunarians, claiming the top of the Red Line with everything on it and also the title of God, but couldn't be used until now with Vegapunk's Mother Flame. Or maybe when they did use it, they used all the energy Mother Flame stuff that they had harvested, so they've been waiting to be able to find a way to get more Mother Flame source to be able to actually use it. I like that. leading you to the thought that the ancient weapon was made for Lunarians by the ancient kingdom to aid in the battle. Kind of like how the ancient ship Noah is pulled by the Sea Kings, controlled by the ancient weapon Poseidon. What if the ancient weapon Uranus is a giant skyship powered by the flames of the Lunarians to wipe out entire islands? I love this theory. Dude. So there's a lot of good connections in that, man. I love that concept. That ancient weapon being made by Lunarians seems to make a lot of sense. And really in this, I'm starting to think it's kind of opening up my mind to think of like, just like more about like what the Lunarians are. Like they're the only creatures or anything that we've seen in this world that have like some level of natural flame to them. So Lunarians very well could be born directly of the mother flame, or obviously at the very minimum have a direct connection to it. What if these guys right here on the right side, who were the initial ones to take, the mother flame and commit the initial sin, what if that created Lunarians? What if Lunarians were actually created when humans or humanoid type beings started taking the flames and incorporating them within their day-to-day life, and somehow they found a way to actually become a Lunarian through that, and that is where that race comes from, because they have a direct connection to the mother flame, which is why A, they have a flame burning on their backs, and B, they're invincible when that flame is burning on their backs, because it's the mother flame. It's the ultimate power source. It is the core power source. I think there could be something to that. Obviously, their name is Lunarian, which just immediately references the moon, so they're lunar beings, and that's the easy assumption. And there still could be a connection from that as well. It could have been moon beings who came down and incorporated themselves with the mother flame, which created them, turned them into that. But Lunarians are some of the strongest people, like between Lunarians and Giants, those are the strongest races that we have. Which also leads me to think, what if we had a mixed race that is Lunarian and Giant? That would just be so OP. Uranus and Poseidon were the two you were thinking about meeting. But so what do we think Uranus is? Where is that? Is it a person? Because that's the interesting thing. One of the ancient weapons is just a freaking person. It's not a thing, which is a really, really odd concept. And I think we do need to think more about that, is these weapons aren't things. They are actually people with the abilities. But at the same time, when the Lucia was taken out, like Richie was talking about, it was taken out by seemingly what I would consider an ancient weapon, or something that's giving ancient weapon potential. But I don't know. I really don't know there. Referring to the Harley, you believe the people on the right are the 19 kings, dying and descending into the abyss, gaining demonic powers and coming back up stronger. That's a good point. Didn't we count this one time and it is actually 19? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which these people all have halos now, which is always interesting. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's gotta be. Holy shit, it has to be though. Yeah. I know we went over this a long time ago when the Harley first dropped. You're absolutely right, one way or another, that these humans are descending into hell and coming out with fire. One way or another, and it's seemingly, not only are they descending into hell, but they're doing it by dying. So, what if, potentially, these humans right here are, getting unalived for some reason, and then descending down into hell, and then, yes, they return stronger, but in their demonic forms with the sun. And it's also interesting that they're carrying the sun up the back of what would be Zunisha, and towards this, this king-like figure. But then it comes back around and goes into whatever this would be, which just has smokestacks and stuff like that. But I'm not totally sure what this curved little piece right here is. I think there could be something to that. They approach the edge alive, pass away, descend into hell, and return stronger. Yeah, dude, I see you on that. I totally see you on that. Good looks, dude. And good looks, Richie. That was a good theory, man. That's a good one. I think we're going to be returning to that. One way or another, I think there's some pieces in there that are super, super crucial. What if the original kings were once the slaves that prayed for the sun god? You've also seen a theory that those buildings are reflective of Drum Island. I have seen that as well. Possibly Joy Boy's homeland. I've seen that. With that whole connection to Drum Island thing, I see it with the flat-topped buildings and the flat-top structures that also have cities and civilizations on top of them. Also, Drum Island has a lot of moon iconography, so there's a lot to that. I do feel you heavy on the original kings. At least I would argue that it wasn't the original kings who prayed for the sun god, because they were kings. Kings don't tend to pray because they already have all the things that they want, right? It's the subjects of the kings that are the ones praying. So I'm assuming that those 19 kings who are all kind of warring, or 20 kings, I would argue 19 of them probably sucked. And in one way or another, greed had taken them over, and they were subjugating their people. And their people were the ones praying for the sun god to save them from these tyrannical kings and these like dictatorships that they were getting stuck in. That's kind of how I feel about it. What if these people are giving up their souls to power the Grand Line's creation? That could absolutely be it too. One way or another, Jet, they're 100% like giving their souls away in this process. Like they are absolutely giving their souls away, which is an interesting kind of concept on that. What if they became kings post ascension? I really like that idea. So that's a good way to spin it. So these poor peasants or slaves or just people in a downtrodden position decided to sell their souls, enter the underworld, and then come back out stronger to come out as the 19 or 20 kings. And then that kind of triggered all of that. I like that spin on it. That's a good way. You also think that Frankie's body may be blocking the source of the abyss under what you believe is the Eve tree in the middle. I fully agree with that, dude. Zen, I've been preaching that heavy, that Frankie is in the way of something very, very important right here. Like I truly do believe that. And I like that possibly it's the source of the abyss, or maybe like that could actually be Laughtail, dude. Like what Frankie's standing in front of could actually be like the place that we're trying to get to by the end of it all. So, contenders for the man marked by flame. This is something I am really excited to get into. Who is the man marked by flames? The man with the burn scar. There's a few contenders poised by my boy Twisted. OG Vanderdecken, which is crazy. Under a similar curse as Zunisha Brooke, doomed to roam the seas, possibly need to win the Poneglyph in a Davy back fight. His burn scar would be from a fight against Emu and the Mother Flame in the mural. A second option is Hanafuda, presumed dead, but he fought Ace, which would explain the burn scar. Father of Ulti in page 1, which is the most relevant cover story. Seems odd of Oda to flesh out a dead character so much that hasn't been seen in the show. Very good point. And then lastly, Blue Jam. He got burned from an incident from Luffy's childhood. He disappeared afterward and made off with Ace's and Sabo's treasure. Swore vengeance on the government. His ship was burned, and that could be where he got the distinct black color. He was also a distinct pirate look and pirate ship that could be pretty sweet, rebranded after being badly burned. I did hear one theory that the fishman that was part of Roger's crew could also be the man with the burn scar. Being a fisherman, all that, causing whirlpools, all that. Within this context, dude, I'm not totally sure. I think you're putting forth good options here, Twisted. And I don't have as much of a rebuttal to this because I just still genuinely don't know. Let's see what you guys talked about a little bit more. Richie says he thinks the man marked with flames would have to be someone with connections to either Fishman Island or Roger's crew. Oh, going into what I was kind of just saying. As the fourth one was in the sea forest by Fishman Island, last time we see it in the story, maybe the man is someone we just haven't met yet, which I feel like it's very likely someone we simply haven't met yet. Felt like it was someone from the Rocks pirate crew because there are some silhouettes we saw in the manga that we haven't seen animated, or in the animated episode, because I think they don't want us to see that person yet. And X, I do agree with that, at least last sentiment for sure. Yeah, dude, who do you guys think the man with the burn scar is, chat? What are you guys thinking on that one? This is one that I'm still just like pretty hung up on, man. I really just don't have like great ideas. I think Twisted, his guesses here are as good as anyone's, and I like that he gives us the three potential options here. But I'm really not sure, man. Oh yeah, and Hanafuda is the guy who worked for Kaido collecting the ancient zones. Yep, no, I do remember Hanafuda for sure. And to your point, why randomly flesh out a dead character who's never appeared on screen and is like kind of just like a background, like very lightly known? I do think there's something to that, and there's got to be a reason that that Hanafuda was mentioned like that. So, all right, how about this, guys? Just in reference to the man with the burn scar, do we think the man with the burn scar is still alive and active? Because I think surely they are. And also, an interesting thing, the man with the burn scar creates whirlpools, and in the very beginning of this story, Luffy in the barrel gets caught in a whirlpool. Like, there's a lot of initial connections. I don't know. I always just come up with the loss because, like, we got a lot of tertiary information that just really doesn't open any doors for us. Emu has some sort of devil fruit. I fully agree, Hunter. I really do think that that's what Emu's power is. We've been theorizing in the community for a while that Emu and the Gorosei's powers are linked to the underworld devils, that they aren't actually devil fruits, but true devils brought into the otherworld. So I think Emu has the devil fruit, but I don't think anyone below them does. Like, I definitely don't think the 5 Gorosei, at least in their demonic forms, have devil fruits. I do still think it's possible that we see devil fruit abilities from the Gorosei, but not specifically because of their devil forms. That would just be a separate ability that they also have if they do have devil fruits at all. You're rocking with the theory that Emu turned Herald. Loki and Yarul fought against them and killed him, but Yarul can't remember because the sword in his head. Cable, that's probably one of my favorite theories that is coming out of like this most recent chapter, because that seems so damn plausible, and it perfectly sets up what we need to spin the whole like Loki's a bad guy theory. And then Yarul getting the sword stuck in his head, losing the memory of it. That's a really, really good theory, dude. Your theory is that Emu is in possession of powerful relics from the former gods of the forest, earth, and sun. Emu being the sea/rain god, now inhabiting the forest god Lily's body after winning the battle of the gods. Sun god's the mother flame, earth god's the red line, forest god, we don't have the info on that. Also, the giant straw hat continues as a relic of the sun god. Adding to your theory, the powerful relic of the forest god you redacted is the magic book Emu wields. If we think about these gods and the elements they represent, they fit into the actual story narratively. Think of the classic Pokemon starters and their strengths and vulnerabilities to each other. The sea rain god possessing the forest god, rain is absorbed by plant life. Sea rain god puts out the fire, aka extinguishes the flame of the sun god. The forest god, who is now Emu, the sun god, gets burned by that sun god due to inhabiting the forest god. This would explain Lily's vengeance, realized being that she is a D. I like that a lot, bro. And especially with the Pokemon correlation, I want to go back up to this section right here, because yeah, you're saying sun god, mother flame, earth god, red line, forest god is actually that magic book. Dude, those connections work really, really well. And then Emu being the god of the sea, it's all the elements working against each other and with each other. Dude, there's some tangible stuff to that, man. There really, really is. Twisted got another one. You think Kuma is going to come in clutch with regard to Emu. Emu has the satanic Bible or whatever, and who else do we know carries a Bible? Kuma, good connection. You think Kuma's could possibly use his extraction ability on the devils. Oh my god, like an exorcist. Okay, wait. Brain blast right here for a second, Twisted. What if when you're possessed by these devils, what if it does inherently physically hurt you, right? Like it physically hurts, but when you're in the demonic form, you're so like kind of juiced up and, for lack of a better way to put it, like roid raged out, that you're not necessarily feeling the pain that's actually being inflicted on your body. And what if Kuma is able to separate the abyss mark from the holy knights, aka Kuma gets a hold of Gunko, and Kuma's the one who actually saves Gunko from her inherent connection to Emu by taking the pain away, which is also separating the demonic bits from the human bits. That could actually be crazy. Kuma's basically a priest. Who else? And who else is a priest that we know likely coming to Elbaf? Yoroj. Ooh, Yoroj connection goes crazy. All right, let's keep this going. In Elbaf, we got teased about a heaven realm, yep, which is probably where your Roj is at. Very interesting. Now that 150 release, you'll share what you posted from the new chapter. Okay, so now we're getting the Robin connection. We're going to get a devil freak off between these two, which is already setting up, because Robin literally, like in this most recent chapter, this is actually a good connection right here, bro. In this most recent chapter, we get this scene where Robin is like, I can't just sit here and watch. She's like, I have to do something. So Robin very well could be about to activate her Demonia Floor or whatever, and turn into a similar creature to fight what Emu has become. I like that a lot. You basically out-heal the pain and damage from the damage. Exactly. But the pain still exists. And maybe if we're talking about like possible mirror worlds and like the abyss being something else, with Kuma being able to possibly take the pain away and there being a mirror world, maybe what happens is whenever you heal or the demonic whatever stuff happens, the version of you, which is the original version that got put in the abyss to bring you back out as the demon form, that version of you is still holding on to all of that pain. And if you can separate all that pain from them, maybe that could make a difference. The pawpaw fruit could do this. You feel like Emu wouldn't have allowed anyone to get that fruit. Maybe that's, I mean, dude, yeah, I feel you. Or on the flip side, maybe that's why they tried so hard to subjugate Kuma, so they could keep him under their control. So once Kuma did eat the pawpaw fruit, they were like, all right, well then we just need to lock this guy in. And that's also, I mean, but also to that point, they wouldn't have just been giving away the pawpaw fruit at God Valley. There's definitely some potential holes there. What if the Buccaneer special lineage is the ability to absorb and subdue demonic spirits? What if Kuma extracts the demonic forms and takes the pain on himself to subdue the demonic magic dude? I could totally see that. And our baby boy Kuma doesn't need any more like reasons to sacrifice himself, but he could 100% decide to sacrifice himself if he's the one who is able to actually absorb all of the evil that these demonic forms have done. This is the hill I'm going to die on, guys. Look, if you read fan translation, and I know Zen is cool on this, but so I'm not dogging you or anybody for it. The fan translation says, "Is that truly all thy MMAS can accomplish, Killingham?" And in the official version, it says, "Is this the best thy sleep tids can do, Killingham?" Massive difference. Like it's got to be sleep tids, but like what the hell is MMAS? And like that's obviously just like a straight failure of a translation. So like what are we doing? All right, Zen has an interesting theory, an in-depth Blackbeard theory. What if Blackbeard's special lineage is connected to Emu and the Nefertari D. Lily's lineage, and Blackbeard is the rare son born from an Amazonian empress? Okay. Gloriosa and Rox D. Zebek. This theory assumes that Lily escaped to Amazon Lily and hid from Emu either during the war or during or after the War of the Ancient Kingdom, making Gloriosa a descendant of Lily, which then could possibly make Nami a descendant of Gloriosa, which gives Nami the connection to Lily. I'm getting ahead of myself, but crazy. We know that Blackbeard was abandoned as a child on a winter island. Around the same time, Gloriosa left the island due to her love sickness. When Gloriosa was away, the government attacked the island since it was unprotected. Maybe Emu knew what island that baby Blackbeard was on and sent an attack to capture him. What if that winter island was Ruskiana, the island that Luffy trained on during the time skip, and could also explain why Blackbeard doesn't sleep. We know that the environment of Ruskiana is dangerous enough that even sleeping is dangerous, so Blackbeard's 2-year-old body at the time was too weak to fight, and he got used to not sleeping. Blackbeard's ship, the Saber of Zebek, could be named after the sword that Rox left and the only weapon that Blackbeard would have had on Ruskina to protect himself. The Saber of Zebek could be Blackbeard's way of inheriting his father's will and immortalizing his name with his ship. As mentioned earlier, Emu and Lily's lineage may be the reason why Blackbeard can have multiple devil fruits. Emu may have had a plan to create Blackbeard as a means of creating a stronger form, assuming that Emu may have had access to the powers of the Opiopi no Mi at some point, which I think is a very fair assumption. Maybe Emu's plan was to birth a child with Lily and genetically engineer Blackbeard's body to handle multiple devil fruits, then potentially switch into Blackbeard's body. When we first meet Blackbeard, he introduces himself just as Teach. What if Marshall D is Blackbeard's, and by extension Zebek's, family name, like the monkey family with Luffy, Garp, and Dragon? Cooking, fam. Cooking, dude. Blackbeard, I really, the part I like the most about this theory, one way or another, is Emu having a specific interest in Blackbeard's body and being able to handle multiple devil fruits. Emu, in theory, if you're looking at all the people on this planet, possessing Blackbeard would be the most beneficial to Emu because his body seemingly can handle extra stuff. And then the real, I mean, we all want to sit with the threes, like iconography with Blackbeard, but there's plenty, I mean, there's nothing to say that Blackbeard couldn't have even more than 3. You know what I'm saying? Low-key, Blackbeard could just be able to consume as many devil fruits as he wants. And if that's a body-based thing as opposed to an effect of his dark fruit, then that really could make a difference. Now, the other connection I like a lot is, at the bare minimum, Rox being Blackbeard's father, Gloriosa does potentially make sense. I think that'd be the easiest connection to draw, but I'm just not sure. But I do see the connection with that. Obviously, the ship being named the Saber of Zebek makes a lot of sense. Him immortalizing his father's name, potentially, you know, him actually keeping that sword but Blackbeard doesn't have a sword on him, right? Like he doesn't carry a sword. Yeah, he never really seems to have a sword on him. I don't think that's a thing that he does. Okay, cool. Just need to see that. Interesting, dude. That's a good one. I think there's a lot of stuff to that. The plot hole there is Ruskina is not where Blackbeard was found nor grown up. He was found, you think, on a New World island by Whitebeard, and he's never been shown to wield a blade. Oh, yep, Spyro's saying that too. Really have a feeling that Blackbeard and Emu are connected somehow. Luffy is connected to Joy Boy, so you could see Blackbeard being connected to Rock's Emu. I agree with that. I fully agree with that. And just a simple fact of like Luffy being connected to the greater good in the world, so Blackbeard's inherently connected to the greater bad. Ooh, and all right, so here's a connection to the special lineage. All right, let's watch this video and then go into it. Shout out my homie the Nerd King, too.
I figured out where the One Piece is. This might be my best theory of all fucking time. One Piece chapter 1150 spoilers. If you're not caught up, get the fuck on out of here right now. When Roger got to Lodestar, why did his log post go crazy? Why could it not lock onto the location of the last island? It's because the last island is not on the Earth. It is within the Abyss. The Abyss is the place that the world government uses to travel. They use the pentagrams to summon each other. The Abyss is not just a place to travel, but I think it's a prison. An underground prison. A hell. Look at the pentagram Emu used in order to turn Bragi into a devil. If you zoom in, it has a name right here. And no, it's not just gibberish, because wait till you see what this name means. It says Eris D. Tar. Obviously the D being the will of D, and Eris meaning the goddess of discord and strife. She was a Greek goddess that loved discord and strife and actually started the Trojan War. She looks just like this, has the black wings just like Emu.
Crazy.
I do believe she was our earth god. She also has the last name of Tar. Tar meaning Tartarus, which also connects to Greek mythology. It's the deepest, darkest pit within the underworld, a vast abyss used as a prison for titans and as a place for punishment for the wicked. Look at the first page of the text. The Mother Flame was within the world of One Piece. It was in that abyss. People were using it as energy, and they decided to prey upon it to have the sun god appear to take them out of slavery. The earth god got pissed, Eris, and decided to banish all of them within death and darkness with the Serpent of Hellflame. Serpent of Hellflame. Tartarus. Hell. These first people, who I do believe are now called Titans, were banished to the Abyss. The people of the outside world in the second world kept trying to use the Mother Flame in order to ignite war. Joy Boy from 800 years ago decided to sacrifice his life to seal up the Mother Flame within Tartarus, so that nobody could use it besides himself. And in order to get there, you needed an incantation, just like they used in the books that Emu just used within the last chapter. The incantation is written on the 4th poneglyphs. Not only does it tell you the location, but you need the incantation in order to summon it, and only somebody with the ability to speak this language can do the incantation. And it just so happens that our person can also turn into a demon, connecting her straight to the Abyss.
Dude, the connections here are insane,
bro.
bro.
When you get to the Mother Flame, the only person who can use it is Joy Boy, the true power of manifestation. That's why Emu can't use it, the Gorosei can't use it, all of the people who have access to the Abyss right now. They cannot.
What if Hell and OP is actually the moon? That's an interesting concept. I actually like that idea a lot too, bro.
Not use it. It's also why the Florian Triangle is guarded by demons that look like they are demons from the underworld. And it's believed that it's connected straight to Laugh-Tale from the opposite side of the world. It's because the Abyss, Tartarus, is an actual place. They are truly connected. Those are demons from Tartarus, from the Abyss, actually defending it. I like this a lot, dude. We saw demons. Why do you think we can't figure out what Teach's lineage is? It's because he's from Tartarus. He's from the Abyss. The 3 skulls, the 3 guns, the 3 beard clips, the number of the devil, it's not because he has 3 devil fruits. He's from the fucking Abyss. He has the power to use that Abyss magic. It's how he's been taking people's devil fruits, bro. This dude is from down there. This is great.
This is really, really good. Pone, can you hear this video I'm playing right now?
The One Piece is not on Earth.
I just want to make sure that y'all can hear it on TikTok.
In the Abyss. And you need the incantation from the road poneglyphs in order to get there. I would also bet that the man marked by flames is guarding that as well. And is from Tartarus / has the ability to go to Tartarus. I am convinced that the Mother Flame is the One Piece and can be found in the Abyss. Let me know what y'all think down below. Don't forget to stop liking and following. Don't forget to follow me on all the platforms like a
I love it. Shout out my homie, the Nerd King, guys. Make sure to drop him a follow if you don't follow him already, dude. So, this theory has you thinking, what if Blackbeard's special lineage is that he's a Titan from the Abyss, and he uses Abyss magic to steal Devil Fruit powers? What if Blackbeard's darkness isn't even a Devil Fruit? That's just his way of using Abyss magic. What if the Dark Fruit isn't really a Dark Fruit, the same way Luffy's wasn't really rubber? Blackbeard has a Moon God Fruit, or maybe something else entirely. Dude, I love that. I really, really love that. For who do I think will die this arc? I do think someone's going to die this arc, and I think that somebody is Loki. I think Loki is going to die this arc. I personally believe that Loki is objectively too strong for this story, and he would make too much of a difference if he lands on either side. Like if Loki became a good guy and started like joining up with the Straw Hats, but I think I think Loki has to be completely and utterly removed from the story, because if he joins the Straw Hats, he's going to be like just too powerful and like they get too big of a boost strength wise, I feel like they could kind of walk through what we're about to deal with. And on the flip side, if he joins the bad guy side, it's equally as bad. Like Loki is kind of a potential deciding factor. So I think Loki's either going to get killed or just completely and utterly removed from the story. So if anything, Loki will be the one to die for sure. I'm gonna lock that one in. Loki dying for my final answer. Another banger chapter, 10 out of 10. I loved it to death. Thank you guys for theory crafting with me and filling up that theory crafting section, dude. You guys are awesome. Well, that does it for another absolute peak chapter of One Piece. Again, 1150, easily one of the biggest chapters we've ever gotten. I have no idea what we're about to do about Emu, but we did come up with a lot of fun theories. And that being said, we have chapter 1151 right around the corner. But guys, please drop a comment down below. What did you think of these theories? Which one's your favorite, or what are you thinking is going to be happening here in the near future for One Piece? And as always, make sure to like the video, subscribe, pop into the Discord, hang out with us in the streams on Sundays, and check out the Patreon for the full uncut versions of all of these reactions. Tell the people you love them, touch some grass, drink some water, and I will see you guys for the next One Piece chapter. Peace.